The 18th century progressed, a new social group began to emerge, the middle class. They accumulated wealth through the expansion of overseas trade and began to question the existing social and the late 18th century saw the Bourbon dynasty at the helm of France, with Louis XVI taking power in 1774. Married to Austrian Princess Marie Antoinette at the tender age of 20, Louis XVI was met with an empty treasury, a result of long years of war and an extravagant lifestyle that had drained France's resources. The exorbitant cost of maintaining a luxurious court at the sprawling Palace of Versailles added to the financial strain. In 1776, France provided aid to the 13 American colonies in their fight for independence from Britain, their common enemy. This move, while politically astute, further burdened the French treasury. French society at the time was divided into three estates: the clergy, the nobility, and the common people or peasants. The first two estates, privileged by birth, were exempt from taxes, leaving the burden of taxation on the third estate, who made up a staggering 90% of the population. The third estate, mostly landless laborers, bore the brunt of taxes such as the tithes and taille, levies on agricultural produce and everyday items like salt and tobacco respectively. The nobility, meanwhile, enjoyed feudal privileges, further deepening social inequality. As the 18th century progressed, a new social group began to emerge, the middle class. They accumulated wealth through the expansion of overseas trade and began to question the existing social and political order. The tipping point came when Louis XVI convened an assembly of the Estates General in May 1789 to propose new taxes. The Third Estate, despite being the largest group, found themselves marginalized, their demands for democratic voting dismissed. Undeterred, the representatives of the Third Estate reconvened in an indoor tennis court in Versailles on June 20th, declaring themselves as the National Assembly of France. Under the leadership of Mirabeau and Abbé Sieyès, they proclaimed themselves the spokesmen for the nation. This marked the beginning of the French Revolution, a tumultuous period that would bring about the end of absolute monarchy, usher in the Age of Enlightenment, and resonate through history as a beacon of liberty, freedom, and equality.
What if one event could change the course of a nation and the world forever? The French Revolution, a monumental period in history, did just that. It all began with the storming of the Bastille on the 14th of July, 1789. An agitated crowd, driven by a bad harvest and a consequent spike in bread prices, destroyed the Bastille, a symbol of royal authority in Paris. This was a clear message that the people of France would no longer tolerate the oppression of the monarchy. But the revolution didn't stop there. Peasants began to loot hoarded grain and burn documents containing records of manorial dues. The power of the revolting subjects was so immense that even King Louis XVI had to acknowledge the National Assembly and accept that his powers would be checked by a constitution. On the night of August 4, 1789, France took a monumental step by abolishing the feudal system of obligations and taxes. The nation was transforming right before the world's eyes. In 1791, the National Assembly drafted a constitution that aimed at limiting the powers of the monarch. The powers were now divided among the legislature, executive, and judiciary. The constitution established natural rights such as the right to life, freedom of speech, and equality before the law. A distinction was made between active and passive citizens, with only men above 25 years of age who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days of a laborer's wages being considered as active citizens. However, the situation in France remained tense. Louis XVI entered into secret negotiations with the King of Prussia. The National Assembly, in response, declared war against Prussia and Austria in April 1792. This was more than a war between nations. It was a war against kings and aristocracies all over Europe. Among the revolutionaries, a group known as the Jacobins emerged. Comprising less prosperous members of society, they were led by Maximilien Robespierre. On August 10, 1792, the Jacobins stormed the Tuileries Palace, killed the king's guards, and held the king hostage for several hours. Elections were held, and all men above 21 years of age were allowed to vote. The newly elected assembly, called the Convention, abolished the monarchy on September 21, 1792. Louis XVI, charged with treason, was sentenced to death and executed publicly on January 21, 1793. This period, from 1793 to 1794, is referred to as the Reign of Terror. Robespierre, now in control, implemented a policy of severe control and punishment. Anyone he considered as an enemy of the Republic was arrested and tried by a revolutionary tribunal. Churches were shut down and their buildings converted into barracks or offices. However, Robespierre's dictatorship didn't last. His supporters eventually abandoned him and he was convicted and executed in July 1794. The French Revolution, with its tumultuous events, reshaped France and had far-reaching effects on the world. It influenced global discussions on democracy and human rights and showed that people's power could challenge and change established systems. It is a testament to the power of the people, a power that remains as potent today as it was in the 18th century. Unquestionably, women were the unsung heroes of the French Revolution. Their contributions were significant, yet often overlooked in the annals of history. During the period leading up to the revolution, most women from the Third Estate, the common people, earned their livelihood through various occupations. They were dressmakers, laundry workers, flower vendors, and sometimes they served as maids in the affluent households. They were the backbone of the French economy, yet their voices remained unheard. The Constitution of 1791 was a sore point for these women. It relegated them to passive citizens, devoid of any political rights. They were citizens in name, but without the right to vote, to be elected to the assembly or to hold political office. This was a bitter pill to swallow. But adversity breeds resilience. The women of France rose to the challenge. They started their own political clubs and newspapers. About 60 of them sprouted across different cities. The Society of Revolutionary and Republican Women was the most notable among these. Their demand was simple, yet radical. They wanted women to enjoy the same political rights as men. The revolution brought about many landmark laws. Slavery was abolished, censorship was lifted. Prior to 1789, all written material and cultural activities had to be approved by the king's censors. This included newspapers, books, and plays. With the abolition of censorship and the declaration of the rights of man and citizen, freedom of speech and expression became a natural right. This freedom of the press enabled the voicing of opinions and counter-opinions, sparking lively debates and discussions. Fast forward to 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte, a renowned French general, crowned himself the Emperor of France. He envisioned himself as a modernizer of Europe. He introduced many laws, including the protection of private property and a uniform system of weights and measures provided by the decimal system. His reign was marked by conquests, dispossessions, and at last, defeat at Waterloo in 1815. The French Revolution left behind a powerful legacy. The ideas of liberty and democratic rights spread across Europe, leading to the abolition of feudal systems and the freedom of colonized nations. Figures like Tipu Sultan and Raja Rammohun Roy in India were inspired by these ideas. In conclusion, the role of women in the French Revolution was pivotal. They were the catalysts for change, the voices behind the movement, and the force that propelled the revolution forward. Their struggle for equality and their fight for rights were instrumental in shaping the course of the revolution. Their story is a testament to the power of resilience and determination, reminding us of the significant role women played in one of the most transformative periods in world history.